Hey everyone, and welcome back to my first season. My guest today is the first guest to return to the podcast. Why is that, you ask? Well, when I started this podcast 2 years ago, I needed someone to be a guinea pig of sorts because I didn't know if I had anything here. My guest graciously agreed, although I might have mentioned that if he didn't do it, then those Lindeman Island backstage photos are going to get leaked on the internet. Now, luckily, there was no need for that. I asked him back because when he did the first ever interview for my first season, I stuck to the script, meaning we only talked about his first season and none of the other 10 seasons or more that he did. And we didn't even talk about where we met. Well, we met in Lindeman Island, Australia, right there on the dock in the year 2000. Little did I know then that meeting him on that dock in beautiful Australia would lead to a 23-year friendship and growing. My guest is from Boston, Massachusetts. Fun fact about my guest, when he was in high school, he was a ball boy for the Boston Celtics and met great players such as Shaq, Michael Jordan, Robert Parrish, and Charles Barkley, to name but a few. And he also played the violin. Huh? Yeah, even I didn't know that little nugget. We'll get into that. Despite the fact that one of his favorite crazy signs is I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany, I am still going to bring him out here today. Everyone, please help me welcome back to my first season, the one and only, my friend, Mr. James Joker Cradle. Joker, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Sure.
Doing fun.
Sorry to call you out. Sorry to call you out on that Tiffany crazy sign there, but
you came with a couple of it I wasn't ready for. That was fun.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, those Lindeman Island backstage photos don't exist. I think they're picnic photos, but anyway, I don't have them. Just so everyone out there,
Somebody probably does.
Yeah, I did not blackmail Joker, but one of you might. Okay, Casper, I'm looking at you. All right, now, you ready to light this fire, sir?
Absolutely. Fire it up.
Were you surprised I asked you back, or were you like, again? What is this with this guy? Like, what did you think?
No, I was. I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but I know you're very thorough, and that I hadn't. There were a lot of things we didn't touch on, so I understand the reasoning behind it.
Well, sure. I mean, I didn't know that my format back then, really. So we literally stuck to your first season, which was at Cancun '97 with Rico Pauletti. And you were Village Villaggio, or as you said in your first interview, the job so nice they named it twice, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so I know you spent about a year in Cancun, and then from Rico Pauletti, I think Kevin that took over, and then you became a set designer, which is still my favorite job you've ever had. Okay, how long were you a set designer?
It was a short stint. I think I did maybe 3 or 4 months.
I'm sorry. I don't know why this makes me laugh. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I just can't. Hard time picturing it because I know you mainly as land sports, right? So
yeah,
not that, but you are you draw, right? I mean, I remember you're a pretty good drawer, right? So
I mean, I can doodle.
Yeah, and you tapped into that creative side. Like when I was over at your place over the holidays, your mom dropped that you played the violin, so I was happy to hear that. Not happy you didn't stick with it, but I guess you had your your reasons there, right? But could you play a mean violin?
I could not. I was not all that talented musically.
All right. Well, again, let's talk about what's I mean, what year were we in? Like, where you were meeting all these great basketball players? Like, is this late '80s? Like that?
No, it's the early '90s. So I was in high school. It was my junior and senior year. So I want to say 92, 93, and then So I guess 92, 93 would be the.
That must have been crazy seeing all the. Yeah. And you said, didn't Shaq used to send you to get chocolate bars or something for him?
It was once Shaq asked me to grab him a Snickers bar and gave me a $20 bill.
Did he ask for his change back? Please say.
Well, no. Well, see, okay. I don't know. That's the funny part of the story. So he asked me to go get a Snickers bar for him. I said, all right, no problem. And then someone that was sitting across from him, and unfortunately, I can't remember the other players that were involved, but someone that was sitting across from him asked me to get him a Twix with Shaq's money. So I said, okay, no problem. And Shaq said, no. Don't give him that Twix, give me my Snickers bar. And I said, okay, no problem. And the guy said, no, Shaq's just kidding, give me the Twix. And I said, okay. And Shaq said, listen, that's my money, you know what I mean, don't get him a Twix. I said, all right, no problem. So the other guy, pulls out a 20 and he gives me, and he's like, listen, here, take my money. He's like, get him a Snickers with his 20, give me a Twix with my 20, and you can keep the change. And I was like, great. Okay, I'm gone. And then Shaq was like, no. He's like, listen, give him back that 20. Here's a 50. He's like, Get me a Snickers bar. And then he asked the guy that was sitting right next to him, "You want anything?" And the guy that was sitting next to him said, "Yeah, get me a Twix." He said, "All right, get him a Twix, and don't get him anything. Give him back his money." I said, "No problem." And Jack said, "Now you can keep all that change." I said, "All right, I'm out." And so as I was walking out the door, Shaq yells after me. He's like, "No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Get him his Twix too. So get one Snickers, two Twix." All right.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think this is his first season, so he was like what, like a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah, with all that money, and he's still generous because today I love watching the videos. Like he goes into a Walmart and he just buys. He'll go up to a kid and say, "Where's your parents? Can I get your kid a bike?" And he'll buy an engagement ring for someone. So he still kept that generous spirit. Even today.
Yeah, he was a pretty cool cat even back then.
Yes, sir. All right, shall we get into some Club Med, sir?
Sure.
All right. So I see from set designer, you go to archery, Gio, for some reason, and Watuco in 98 with Gino Andretta, chief of village. Now,
yes.
why archery, Joker?
Archery was basically where they needed me. So
did you know how to do archery? I'm sorry, before?
I do now. I didn't at the time. It was new to me.
Did you read Zen and the Art of Archery before you left for that season, or you just went there?
I did not. So I basically flew from Cancun to Mexico City, from Mexico City to Hualtuco. And I flew to Hualtuco because there were a few geos that I knew that were there. So I asked Kevin if he could send me there. He and Gino Andretta had been friends in the past, so Gino took me. Yeah, I mean, I think he didn't know what to expect. He just knew that there was an American young dude coming in, and the archery geo that was currently there was supposed to be taking over the Annex restaurant, managing the Annex restaurant. So they needed someone to replace him.
Really?
Yeah,
well, that's a heck of a switch from archery to Annex restaurant. Okay.
Yeah, so he was an Italian guy, and unfortunately I can't remember his name either. He went over, took over the Annex restaurant. I think he stayed with me for a week at archery, and basically gave me the ins and outs and told me how to, do everything I needed to do, repair arrows, fix the bows, change the archery targets, whatnot. And Hualtuco was a pretty big club. I think there was, I want to say there was maybe 10 targets. So, comparatively to some of the archery ranges that Club Med has, it was pretty large.
Were you concerned at all that this is really the only activity that we arm the guests with weapons?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't. I never really thought about it like that, but I wasn't.
It wasn't the worst part because believe it or not, I did a stint as archery geo after being a chief of sport. So isn't the worst part just walking to and from the target to get the arrows? I mean, that was the worst part for me.
Well, I didn't retrieve them for the people. The worst part for me was probably getting the missed arrows that someone just shot into oblivion, and you're trying to find those, or when people shot them through the back netting, because then you had to put new feathers on them, and that was kind of a pain. But no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for the most part. I like the adults, the kids that were doing archery. Sometimes that could get a little wild depending on who the mini club geo that was bringing them was. Some were better than others, just in helping to keep the kids under or in hand, so. But no, I enjoyed it.
Did you have a good season there?
Yeah, I did. That was the season where I met my girlfriend, Barbara. So Barbara was at the time assistant gestionnaire, which is basically the assistant accountant for the club. And she was preparing to be promoted to be the full gestionnaire, the head gestionnaire for her next village. And so that's where I met her.
Yeah, and I met you and Barbara in Lindeman Island, where Barbara was the gestionnaire. Okay, so did you meet anyone else, like any other sports geos that I might know from that season?
Well, I think one of the most well-known geos that I met there for my first time was LP, who was land sports when I first got there. And LP is an absolute legend.
Was he still doing that, memorizing the GM's names there?
Yeah, and that was just the most unreal thing that I'd ever seen in my life. LP could just memorize, an entire pool full of names in a couple of seconds. He would go around during with water aerobics. He'd put everyone in a circle, have everyone, say their names and where they were from, and LP would memorize all of them. First day of their vacation, and he would have their names for the entire time. It was incredible. So LP was there. Another really well-known geo was Zorro. He was there working the beach. Mac Glaude, who was a really well-known flying trapeze artist, was there as well. So there were some pretty big geo names there when I got there.
Now from Watuco, you go to Cefalu, and what is probably my favorite position you've ever had, because this is probably the most hilarious Club Med term I ever heard of. It's called improductif, which basically means you're not productive, because since Barbara got promoted to gestionnaire, so there was a thing where if you were, I guess, the boyfriend or wife, husband of a chief of service, then you could take along your significant other and they don't really have to work. Correct? Am I getting this right?
You are getting it right.
Okay, so this sounds like the dream to me. Joker in Sicily in the summer. Doesn't have to work.
The caveat there is that at the same time, I couldn't really work because there were no contracts for American people in Cefalu, so that I could have been there and been au pair like when I started in Cancun and just worked, but I wouldn't have gotten paid. There'd have been no perks for me. So, what was the point? I did do some little tournaments here and there. I helped with the volleyball tournaments. I helped out archery, when they were short a person, but, I couldn't really instruct in Italian. I did a little snorkeling there, but I didn't do anything.
So you had an Italian girlfriend, yet had not learned Italian yet, except for
I was trying. I was working on it.
Did you guys wait a minute? So you guys spoke French to each other?
English.
Oh, English. Okay. But when she was mad at you, which I assume might have happened once or twice, did she speak to you in Italian?
I don't know. She would fly off in whatever came out first. I think it was probably mostly Italian.
Okay. Yeah, I have a similar situation. Okay. Now, was Patrick Serva, so this was summer 98. Was this his first season as chief of village? Patrick Serva?
To my knowledge, it was. I believe it was.
Okay. Yeah, because I just spent 97 in Playa with him as chief of sports. So how was he? Did you get along great? Fun season?
Yeah, we got along great. He's super talented chief of village. He'd been, I guess he was chief of sports with you, but I think before that he had actually been chief of animation or entertainment.
Choreographer too, I believe.
Exactly. So he was a choreographer, incredible dancer, really bizarrely good on roller skates. He could dance on roller skates.
He loved that Club Med show with the roller skates. What's it called again? Not Starmania.
Was it Starlight?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
is that what it was?
Yeah, he loved that show. I remember him telling me that in Playa.
They did that in Cefalu, but the craziest thing about that was that Cefalu was almost kind of like an amphitheater, and they created ramps where they were skating up the ramps and down the ramps up the amphitheater. So they were like skating through the crowd almost. It was bananas.
Okay. Any wipeouts?
I'm sure there were, but,
okay.
but I don't think anything that required a hospital visit.
Okay, got it. All right. Any before we move on to your next, any stories come out of this, or it was just a fun?
I think that the most interesting thing about when I was in Sicily was that was the first time anyone from my family came to visit me. So
really,
my brother came out to Sicily, and which was incredibly cool. He came out to visit, and that's after I had been in Club Med for I guess about a year, and so my family hadn't heard from me that much at the time. No one had cell phones, so there wasn't a whole lot of calling going on. You'd have to go to like a phone booth or like the phone area to make a call out, and it was a whole deal. So I didn't really call anyone much, but I did get in contact with my brother. He came out and visited me, and when he saw what I was doing, he saw me on stage and because I still was doing shows, even though I was in Productivo. But when he saw me on stage and doing crazy signs, whatever like that, when he got back home, he said to our parents, he was like, "Listen, you don't have to worry about Joker. He's doing all right." Like, because everyone was kind of like, "What is he doing?" He doesn't call us. He doesn't talk to us. He's kind of globetrotting. But
yeah, he's doing fun. Then he met Barbara and said, "Yeah, he's doing all right. Don't feel sad for Joker, right?" Okay.
Yeah,
he's good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So after Cefalu, then you go to Morea. 98-99 season. So I think you spent about a year there. You wind up with Felipe Abraham first as chief of village, then Teach Mayor. Now you do have like two funny stories from Maria, but I do like, if you can just start with the one where I don't know, were you at bar at the time?
Yeah. So when I first got there, I started at the bar.
Okay. Yeah. And some guy, Gio, made a joke to you about unilingual Americans that kind of set a fire under you, right? Do you mind telling the story?
Yeah, so it was actually I think she was working reception. No, she was in bank. So it was a French girl that was in bank, and her joke was that, if you speak three languages, what are you? You're trilingual. If you speak two languages, you're bilingual. If you speak one language, you're American. Okay. And so that was the most infuriating thing that I had heard in my life. And so from there,
but had she, but you realize, had she not said that, that I mean, I'm sure she meant it as a joke, but that kind of you wanted to learn French and then show her, right? Like,
yeah, that was part of it. Yeah, that was. Well, I wanted to learn more than one language. I wanted to learn a stack of languages just to complete. But I had actively tried to learn a bit of Italian when I was in Sicily. I spoke, I was able to communicate. I wasn't, fluent by any stretch of the imagination. And then in Tahiti, being at the bar, I think, it was basically 50-50 of Americans and Europeans that were coming to Tahiti. So I had the chance to really practice the French. All of the local staff is Tahitian, and they spoke both French and Tahitian. I mean, some of them spoke English as well, but the main language that was being spoken around me was mostly French. So I got a chance to learn.
Okay. And my other favorite story, which you told me in your pre-interview, was you kind of got injured during a number one night, right? And the guests thought it was part of the show. Do you mind telling that story?
Oh yeah. So we were doing, I think it was Swan Lake or the Nutcracker. I don't know, some ballet.
There's a lake named after me. Just kidding. Go on. Sorry.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. So I was like the premier ballerina. So I had the white leotard on with the tutu and the stockings. And there was I think it was the chief of sports or the land sports geo at the time. I'm not sure which. They did a little joke where they kind of like bounce me and, you jump and twiddle your feet and they throw you off stage. But this dude like legit launched me and I slid off stage, backstage. And, it's a comedy number, but I banged my head on the smoke machine and just like right on the corner, which was like this sharp metal box. And so I split my head open and I'm bleeding. So the show must go on. I kind of come back with my, my hands up over my head, ballerina style, and like all my tippy toes coming back out. And what I didn't realize at first is that there was blood pouring out of my head and down my white leotard. So I come back out with all this blood coming down my chest, and the audience just loses it because they think that it's, makeup. They think that it's part of the show, that he threw me off and I was just gotten injured and come back bloody, but I was legit bleeding. So the crowd is laughing. I'm freaking out because I hate bleeding. So we go through the rest of the number, and he bounces me around a couple more times. We finally end the number, and I end up having to go and get my head. Like they had to shave a little square of my hair, which I was freaking out about because my hair was my thing, and they had to stitch me up there in Tahiti.
Okay, because you had kind of long hair, right? Then I recall. Okay.
Yeah, I had like that long curly hair.
Yeah, and it takes a while to grow. But I know what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a year in Morea and
year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay, yeah. And then I think at one point from bar you switched to land sports, right?
Exactly. So I did 6 months in bar, and then I went over to land sports and started doing land sports there. And that was my first real land sports gig.
Okay. Now, so the next village we meet up for the first time, but I'm just curious. I don't know if I've ever asked you, did Barbara request Lindeman or was she just sent there? You recall?
That's a great question. I think she was just sent there. Okay. I believe she was sent there. Either she was sent there or maybe the chief of village requested her. I'm really not 100% sure.
Okay. So my role as chief of sports, I wanted to meet all my sports guys. And since mostly everyone came by ferry, I guess by plane, if you're really lucky, from Hamilton Island, but you arrived by ferry, and I literally remember, this was almost 23 years ago, people literally remember meeting you on the dock. Do you remember meeting me?
Yeah, I remember meeting you. I know you were there. You were waiting for me. You said, I'm your chief of sports. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And, I was just completely a zombie because I'd flown from Boston to LA to, I think Sydney up to Hamilton Island. And then from Hamilton Island, you get on the ferry. It was just such a long voyage that I was just a zombie by the time I got off that boat.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that you had what happened to your running shoes. So my land sport guy arrives. What happened to your running shoes?
I don't even remember. That's true. Okay. Something did happen to my running shoes.
Yeah, I don't know if you lost them
did they lose the bag? They
or
must
the
have lost
airline.
the bag.
Yeah. So since I'd been there a few days before you, I took you to someone that could help you. You know, the one and only, the great Josh Payne. So Josh, if you're listening, we really want you on the show. Okay. So yeah, I take you to Josh Payne, who is, you know, the greatest guy ever. And then we meet Johnny Cutaway. And
I think it was actually Johnny Cutaway that gave me shoes, because I don't think there's no way I could have fit into Josh's shoes.
Josh. Yeah, I think he was a size 12 and a half or 13 like me. But yeah, so yeah, Johnny Cutaway. That's right. Yeah, I think you guys were about the same height.
Yeah, so well, no, Johnny's definitely taller than me, but I think Johnny gave me his. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm tiny, brother. But I think Johnny gave me a pair of his shoes, and even those were too big. But I think I was wearing Vans for like the first week of my land sports duties in Australia, or some Skechers or something, man.
Okay. All right. Now, okay, yeah. And then, of course, we can't talk about Lindeman without talking about the late great Gibus, who, for me, even though was a short guy, was kind of larger than life, because you know I'm still talking about him 22 years later. And you kind of were neighbors, right? Because Barbara had that nice place, kind of overlooking the Coral Sea, right? And his place was right there, opposite the trapeze.
Right. So yeah, the Chiefs of Service basically had kind of apartments in this village, which is cool. So we had a kitchen, dining room, living room, bedroom, bathroom, and Jeebus lived up the way, and he had like a full condo. I mean, I feel like he might have had more than one bedroom in that place, but it was pretty big, the place that Jeebus was staying.
Now,
he was basically next door to us.
Yes. Now, whenever I can't remember the origin of this. Whenever you would leave your place, the circus, since they were high up on the boards, I think it was maybe Jez Bennett would whistle, and then you would say "Sha." Could you just recreate it? Was that the order?
Yeah, I don't know who started it. I just know that was
Sha. Okay.
That was it. It was just the whistle. It was like a. And then whoever was around would just scream "cha," and I don't know what it came from.
Okay,
that was like.
And I was hoping you would remember. Okay, Casper, if you're listening, please tell me how this started. Okay.
I don't know how it started, but it wasn't even just. It was when I came out of my apartment. Anytime I would pass.
I know, but it was cool. Yeah. It was kind of like Norm when Norm would go down the bar. Cheers! They go Norm, hey, you know. So I'm just curious how.
Yeah, but it was the whole circus team would scream. I'd whistle, and then the whole team would be like "cha."
Okay, so hopefully Casper is listening to this. You'll write in the comments, okay? Or Jez.
I'd like to know where that came from too, because I don't have a clue.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so we spend a year there, and we do have to talk about. Okay, at one point, I can't remember if it was at the 6-month mark, this big singles group comes to Lindeman Island, and they want to do a singles mingles booze cruise. Okay, and Jeebus takes me aside, and I didn't really want to go on it, you know, but he goes, "You're going, and you only have one job." And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Your job is to control Joker." And I said, fire me, okay, because I'd already known you, and I know there's no controlling you. You just got to let him do his thing. But Joker, singles mingle, booze cruise, it had the recipe for a complete disaster. There's no way I can control anything, okay, let alone you. So I asked him to fire me. He wouldn't. So he sends me, okay, with a couple of sports team GOs and you, and it starts off pretty okay. And then at one point, I forget, maybe it was a 10-minute mark, it starts to go a little sideways. So what's your recollection of this? Because I failed in my attempt to control you. So.
No, I don't think you failed. So, I mean, the reason why he wanted to send me is because I kind of handled the picnics, the weekly picnics. And because I had the experience doing that, I think he thought that it would be a good idea to.
Yes, and I was kind enough to stay out of your way whenever you did the picnics. I windsurfed over, said hi, and I left because I didn't want to know what you were up to when I left, and that was fine with me.
You make it sound so nefarious.
No. There was no laws broken. No, don't get me wrong. There's no laws broken. Everyone was fine. I mean, I think maybe at one point someone lost a top or a bottom. I don't know. I don't need to know. You know, I mean, every law was respected in Australia. Nobody complained. I'm just saying that I knew enough, you know, to know. I did my little cute passage by windsurf. I'm going to leave now, you know, and then no, it was all good, right? Nothing happened. Nothing wrong happened.
No. I mean, not that I recall. I mean,
I never got a complaint about you from the picnic or any of the games. So
no. The picnics were always fine. The picnics were a good time.
I think is what the GOs, because once the GMs left, I think the GOs stuck around to clean up. And I think that's maybe what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
see, that was the whole other thing. Because on the backside of that, okay, we can go into that later. So
yeah. Let's stick with the booze cruise. Yeah. So
So on the booze cruise, we we loaded up just coolers of this. Do you remember what the beer was? It was some local beer.
It was VB. It was my favorite.
Was it VB?
Yeah, it was VB. Yeah.
In the brown cans.
Oh, brown can wasn't that then the something Castle then or for Triple X?
I don't know, but it was it was the one they gave us. It wasn't like the top brand beer.
I didn't have my
local.
I didn't have my favorite BB. Oh no, Casper's gonna kill us. We can't remember this beer. Okay, I hope you know that.
Yeah, but it definitely wasn't the best, but it was the one that came from the kitchen. It was the one that they had just stacks of that they would give us, and the kitchen guys were really cool about hooking us up. So they gave us a bunch of this beer and wine for days and just sent us on our way on this little charter cruise boat. There was a live band and everybody that was there. I mean, it started early. I think everyone was there was like their main deal was to just get schmammered. And so, I mean, cats were just drinking beer from jump. So as soon as I don't even know if the boat was off the dock before people were cracking.
Well, and we had a live band on the boat too, right? Like at the front of the boat, there's a live band. Okay, and
there's a live band inside, and a good band as well.
Yes, and even when we hit rough seas, kind of like the Titanic, they kept playing. Regardless of the waves. And I'll just tell you my quick little memory. A guy, when I knew I lost controls, keep in mind I knew, and a GM actually came up to me with a 2-liter bottle of Coke. He said, "Hey, can I shake this up and explode it on the ceiling?" And I went, "No." And then he ran and did it anyway. And I said, "What did you ask me for then?" And then that's all I remember. You must remember passing the Australian Navy, poor guys. That were moored.
Yeah, I think they were. I don't know if it was the Navy or like their Coast Guard or whatever. But
no, it was the Navy. They were on
definitely the Navy.
Yeah, and they were stringing out their laundry, and then we happened to pass by.
So we rode by, and so that was just like a moon fest and a flash fest. So like tops were off, and people were jiggling whatever they had to jiggle at them, and so these guys looked just horrified and could not believe what was going on as we cruised by at like a very slow speed.
It was perfect. Here's the military. Here's a civilian boat. There's the striking difference right there.
Yeah, that was the deal. So there was that. I remember there was some Geo that ended up naked. I can't even remember who it was.
Well, yeah, we won't say the name anyway.
I don't honestly. I'm not sure who it was. I just know there was definitely one of the. I think it was a sports Geo that ended up with nothing.
I remember it was. I think it was one of my sailing guys, right?
Okay, yeah, and so he was doing the dangle dance at some point on the boat with nothing on.
Okay.
So it was an experience.
And I remember you at one point screaming tops off, and then that's when I knew.
Was that me?
Oh yeah, it was you. Yeah, the clear memory, and no one disagreed with you at all. And I just stood by the back and tried to shrink into the hedges like that Homer Simpson meme. Maybe if they don't see me, because it was, and I didn't know. I think we still had an hour left in the cruise. Okay.
Yeah.
But of course, when we got back, Jeebus heard nothing but glowing reviews, and I didn't get fired, even though I'd asked to be fired because I didn't want to have to do that. Control you in any way.
Yeah, well, thankfully, it all went more or less as planned. No injuries on that one either.
So. No. Everyone had a great time, and I think probably as a result, some of those singles are now married today. I'm guessing. Okay.
Well, we can hope.
Okay. Do you have any other fond memories of Lindeman? Do you have a good Jeebus story? I know you guys partied a lot too, but we had a great Christmas and New Year's there.
I remember Jeebus, we would get shots and Jeebus would fully throw him over his shoulder.
He was a shot dumper. Yeah.
Oh, and, he was.
Josh got mad, I think, one night because Josh was paying.
Yeah.
Well, there's that time we foolishly agreed to challenge the women's France's women's beach volleyball team. I think we should mention that. And Jeebus said if we lost, we couldn't use our bar tickets that we get for free every month, right? We had to pay, and of course we got schmammered, as you might say.
Yeah, so we got demolished.
Yeah, the wind. No, guys, we're not making an excuse. The wind picked up something awful, but they played like wind wasn't a factor at all. So kudos to them. Okay.
Well, I mean, the wind wasn't a factor for them. It was just a factor for us.
Yes. Well, it was, but they played like what wind,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but that was fun. That was a great memory.
Yeah, we got some cool videos about that. I'll put in Joker show notes the link to watch us if you want to watch us get demolished by an Olympic because we arrived at the greatest time in Australia, right before the Olympics, sort of the Sydney 2000 Olympics. So they didn't want to train in Sydney, so I was tasked with you have to build a beach volleyball court. The French women's team's coming. All right. How easy? Not easy, but yeah, we couldn't have arrived, I think, at a better time in Australia.
Yeah.
And and of course, when Jeebus has probably had the best geo parties I've ever seen in my life, I tried to emulate him after that because he would never just throw a party. There was something to do before the party, right? There was always an activity. Like
it was an event.
Yeah, it was. And had you ever seen a chief do that before?
No, nothing on the scale that Jeebus did. His things were really well thought out. He could have been like some kind of event coordinator because his parties were crazy. I mean,
I think our last party, and I think you were on crutches. Like I spent my last day in Lindeman cleaning the maintenance area because that's where he wanted a party, and I spent my last day in Australia cleaning. And he brought in the crane, and I remember he left some geo up in the crane because he wanted someone to be dancing in the crane or the genie, whatever. Well, Joker, I could talk for hours about Lindeman, but we have to keep this interview going. So from Lindeman, I go to Kuşadası in Turkey, and you go to Foça in Turkey, summer 2001, with your CDV Benoit Cousin, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Benoit Cousin was my chief of sports in Tahiti, and super entertaining guy, really engaging, just a sweet guy, fantastic on stage. But I think that's probably kind of everyone that's been Club Med long enough becomes pretty good on stage. But Benoit was special. And so I was land sports for him in Turkey. And so we were, Barbara and I were still together. And I went to Foça in Turkey, and it was just funny that you were in the same country with all.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I spent a year with you in Lindeman. It's like, well, okay, that guy you love and had so much fun is gone. I'm like, no. So I approach the chief of village in my resort, Laurent Gournouillet, and I say, hey, we have a good volleyball team. I'm sure they do. Let's set up a volleyball match between the two villages. And he bought it. We took cabs over, and I got to see you.
Yeah.
in Foça, and it was great.
And who won that game?
Well, we did, but I played horribly, but because I couldn't even show off to you how better I got at volleyball. But we won. But I think but later on that season, you and Barbara came to return the visit, and you came to visit me. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember because we were partying, and that's where I met Tarzan for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
was it? Wait, was it? No, didn't you? Wasn't he in Foça with you?
No, Tarzan wasn't.
Oh no, I only met I only met Tarzan in Columbus before Australia, so I never worked with him since. I mean, he did. No,
I think he was in Khmer, and he was he there at the same time?
Well, at the end of Turkey, I think when we closed our villages, we had to go to Khmer. Yeah, and he was in Khmer. That's right. And then from that season, we went to Club Med World in Paris, right? Because all the villages that closed in the summer were having a big party. So so when our village closed, Kuşadası, who's there? But Tarzan, still barefoot and doing the power walk. Okay. Yeah. And then water aerobics is just a big massage machine. Really, no one's really working out. But okay, so I think that's where, No, unfortunately, no, he wasn't one of my sports geos in my village in Kuşadası. That would have been fun, but no.
Got it. So no, but that was So you gave me a tour of the place. You showed me where you were working out. You had made like a makeshift.
Oh no, that was the land sports did. Oh my God, you remember that? He put tomato cans full of cement and then stuck a bar in, and then waited till that settled, and
that was your one size fits all.
Yeah. Your warm up was a killer, right? Because it was like 150-pound warm up.
Yeah.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, right? Stay in shape.
Oh, that was inventive. Yeah, it was definitely inventive.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Now from Turkey, you go to Paradise Island, where I think this is one of your favorite seasons. because it's
Indeed.
here where I guess you spent a year. So you had Kevin Batt and Angie Boucher. So the first part, is this where you meet the four horsemen?
This is where the horsemen came together.
Who are the horsemen?
So the horsemen are Renato Paiva, who is a Brazilian, at the time was a Brazilian squash GO that turned to a tennis GO. Petey Elter, who is a dude from Montreal. Luca Della Pace, who was originally from Vancouver, soccer player who was land sports. Peter, was tennis as well. Luca was land sports, and I was land sports with Luca as well.
Whoa!
So we were the go-to guys. We were doing all the shows, did all the mic, everything, all the passages, anything that was going on in the village. There was one, if not all of us, involved in.
Okay, and did you like Paradise?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. We had a great time. There was there's a lot to do in and out of the club.
Well, yeah, that's where I missed you. I'm doing interim chief of village in Ria Bintan, and I have the phone to use, and I call you, and every time I call, the reception goes, "Oh no, Joker, he's in Nassau. He's at a movie, or no, he's going to get some fast food." So I could never get you on the phone.
I was. I mean, because there was just so much to do, like in Nassau. So, we had basically carte blanche to go to one of the nightclubs that were there. There was a guy, and I think his name was Kurt, and he just kind of knew, he had like the hookup. He knew everyone in Nassau. He would take geos out he had it was kind of like a motorboat. I don't know what kind of motorboat. I don't think it was really a ski boat, but he had a motorboat that he'd take geos out on. He was always at the nightclubs. He was always at the Club Med. He just had access. So we would hang out with him. We'd go over to Atlantis.
I was going to say you went by scooter, like you had a bit of a scooter gang, right? So
we all had Razor scooters, and I don't know how that started. But okay. I think like one of us had it, and we just found it so convenient that all
sounds
of us had
it. Sounds like a Joker thing. You know how that started. I could
see that. It could completely be that. And of course, at some point they had to make a rule that there was no Razor scootering through the bar area, because we would be everywhere.
No drinking and scootering, right? Okay.
Yeah, because that didn't end up well for me either.
Well, speaking of, okay, since we can segue, what a perfect segue, because you had a bit of a scooter wipeout at the Atlantis resort next door?
Yeah, Renato and I had gone to the Atlantis to go to. There was a restaurant in the casino area, and I wish I could remember the name of the restaurant.
But you remember the name of the burger, right?
The burger, yeah, it was the Jackpot Burger. The Jackpot Burger was amazing. So that was just worth the trip. So, after X amount of drinks that you have at the nightclub, there's nothing to eat Club Med after a certain hour. So we would just scooter over to the Atlantis and go to their restaurant. We were scootering over there, obviously with a couple of drinks under our belts. And they watered the grounds at the Atlantis in the evening. So they were doing that. And it must have been, I don't know, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And there was like a wet, maybe a puddle or a wet spot or whatever. And somehow my scooter went out from under me. And it went out in such a way that the scooter went one way and I went into a pillar of the Atlantis, and my legs slammed against the pillar. And it was kind of like my quad that hit it. So Renato thought it was hilarious. So I think he had just tears. He was laughing so hard because it probably did look funny, because I probably looked like I got shot off my scooter. But I was legitimately in pain. So I thought that I had just given myself a major Charlie horse. So I'm kind of like limping. I'm like, oh man. And I'm, pretty well inebriated as well. So I'm like, oh man, I really hurt myself. And Ronald was like, come on, man, we got to go get some food. Let's go. So we would, close our razors down and make them small. You can kind of make them compact and then hide them in a bush. And we're walking into the Atlantis. Excuse me?
I said it was very slick. Yes, you could. You didn't put him in a backpack like in Zoolander. You didn't have one of those.
No.
Okay.
We tucked him away in a bush or something like that. So
okay.
So for whatever reason, I was wearing scrubs that evening, and you know how that goes.
Hospital scrubs.
Exactly, hospital.
Okay.
Scrubs. So we're walking through the Atlantis, walking to this restaurant, and I looked down and I noticed that there's literally blood coming through my scrubs. So I had literally split my leg open, my quad open, when I hit this pillar in the Atlantis. So I'm limping, and I'm like, Renato, I think I'm really hurt, man. I was like, look, I'm bleeding. And so he kind of looks down at my leg and he's like, dude, stop limping. You're going to bring attention to it. Like,
Well, did any of the Atlantis employees think you were like you were a doctor and you just came from open heart surgery since you were
I
wearing
don't,
scrubs?
no, I don't think so. I don't think anyone was really paying attention
Which
to
would
me.
be kind of odd if you did that and if you were a doctor and did that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what anyone thought, but I just know I was bleeding. So we went to the restaurant. I ate injured and we left and I had to get it checked out by the nurse the following day who said I should have come directly to her.
Which nurse?
I honestly I don't remember who that was either.
Oh, okay.
I have,
Oh, yeah.
I have the worst memories for that
Okay.
kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. Are there any other Paradise Island stories you want to mention before we move on to Punta, where I met you briefly? Okay.
Yeah, well, I think one of the other ones is that we spent so much time in these nightclubs. We would go there, sometimes dress from the shows. So one night the horsemen went over there, and there was another guy named Will Attenlow that was a golf instructor originally from Texas that was with us, and there was kind of like a loft area with a bar at this bar we used to go to. I think it was Bahama Boom. I think the name of
Oh, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
I want to say that's the name of it, but I'm not 100%. So we were upstairs and we're all kind of dressed like we were from the show. And Renato has this like Jamiroquai kind of hat on, and like everyone's kind of got a little bit of flair going. And so we're standing at the bar, kind of spread out a little bit. And I'm there ordering a drink. And Will's like, he's like around the corner of another bar. And a girl kind of like, asks him, he's like, are you guys part of a group or something like that? What are you guys? You guys are here at a bachelor party? And Will looks at her with a straight face, and he was like, "Oh, he's like, we're all." He tells me the story afterwards. He says, we're all with him. We're part of his entourage, and he points over at me, and she was like, "Oh," she's like, "Who's that?" And so Will looks at her like she's like got no brain at all. Like, how could you not know who that is? With a straight face, and says, "That's DJ such and such." And like is like and like shakes his head at her like, how could you not know who DJ such and such is, which is absolutely nobody, but he's pointing at me like I'm supposed to be famous. And they're like, we're all here with DJ such and such. And so apparently after that, that girl is telling her friends, I think she was in on a cruise, that DJ such and such was there and he's here with his entourage. And so that kind of went around. And so other people had heard that DJ such and such was here, and they were asking, do you know who DJ such and such Will is? And Will's like, yeah, it's Joker. So he started a rumor in a nightclub that we were famous.
Okay. Well, you kind of were, right? You were Club Med famous.
Yeah, Club Med famous, yeah.
All right. So from Paradise, you go to Punta Cana. I hear you're there. I go. Now, I guess without getting into too much detail, I arrived there, and after seeing a bit of Club Med over the years, you guys are playing this game I'd never heard of, okay, called Buffalo. Now, who do you know? Well, maybe you can't mention the name, but I don't know who started Buffalo. But had you heard of this game before, or only when you got there?
I'm honestly, I don't know if it was. I don't know who started it. It may have been Levi that started it when he got there. I'm really not 100%.
But you like me, you had never heard of this drinking game before. Okay.
No, I don't think not before. Not before that. I don't think we were doing that in the Bahamas. I think that was strictly a Punta Cana thing.
So the gist is, if you're right-handed, then you can't have a glass in your right hand. You have to drink with your non-dominant hand, right?
Yes, at all times, and or you can have alcohol in both hands. But if you have alcohol only in your dominant hand, you have to finish whatever you have in your hand.
Yeah, somebody spots you because the whole village was playing this game and says Buffalo, and then you have to skull. You can borrow an Australian term, skull, whatever is in the glass. Okay.
Exactly.
So yeah, I just remember spending those few weeks, before I got my ankle broken, just paranoid. Okay. And some people were good at it because if most people if they're right-handed, wear their watch on their left hand, they'd ask you what time it is. So you'd switch your glass hand and look at turn your wrist, and they go Buffalo. So they would be sneaky, right? About
Yeah, okay. It was a dangerous game.
Yeah, it was just you're terrified the whole time, right? Because there's eyes always on you, right? So
yeah.
So thank God.
And the only people that couldn't call Buffalo are people that were, we may have been playing in the Bahamas. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not sure.
I think the nurses were off limits, right, or something, or
Well, there was a couple things. Yeah, nurses were off limits, and then the bartenders, because they were they're pouring drinks,
yeah,
they couldn't call Buffalo on anyone, and you couldn't call Buffalo on the bartenders
yeah,
unless they were not serving. So
exactly.
those are the only real rules.
Okay, yeah. All right. So other than this game, do you have any stories out of Punta Cana?
Oh man, the stories out of Punta Cana.
Is this where you meet Christy Toth?
Yeah, that's right.
Is
Yeah,
this
that's
where?
right. That's right. That's where you met Christy,
Yeah,
who is an
Billy.
amazing trapeze artist.
Yeah,
So Christy was there.
Billy Havoc.
Levi came to be I think maybe like a 2 week or maybe it was a month long soccer camp that the club was running, and he was sent in to run that. And he was maybe 19 or maybe 20. I want to say 19. He was young. So it was his first time leaving San Diego. He's full San Diego surfer type kid, and was just, he just could not believe what was going on around him. So he was, great, just great energy, super sweet kid. And so after the soccer camp was over, I asked if we could keep him on as a land sport. So we ended up getting him a contract. So that was cool. So that's where Levi was. I'm trying to think. There was a stack of people there, and that's where I met Dominique.
Oh, okay. So Dominique, your significant other.
Yes.
Who you have two kids with.
Yes.
And yeah, you well, I really like to include that photo in your show notes, because you recently posted a photo. You guys were at some black tie event, and like your son is now taller than you, and Dom looks slamming. I mean, so this is amazing. Like I think you have like over 200 likes on this photo because.
Really? I think Dom posted it. I haven't even seen it. Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah,
that was a photo for my brother's wedding.
Yeah. Oh, is that okay? Yeah. So you've gotten a massive amount of likes on that photo because everyone, looks so amazing in it. So yeah. So this is where you met Dominique from Montreal, right?
Yes. So Dominique is originally from Montreal. She was the nurse at the club, and she was also one of the main dancers. She was in all the shows.
Great, awesome dancer. Yes, because I recall from Cancun, like you couldn't take your eyes off her when she was dancing. Amazing.
So
dancer.
she was the main dancer. We got paired up in one of the shows, one of the big shows, and yeah, so we just kind of started hanging out there.
Now, question: did you meet her because like most of your stories involve you getting injured? So is it because you're always getting injured that you were at the nurses?
Yeah, I had kind of rolled off my bed and slammed my face on my nightstand. Yeah, so I showed up at the infirmary with like a fat lip, like you wouldn't believe, and she just had no qualms about just laughing in my face about how ridiculous I looked and how it happened, and
that was it, right?
Like, well, I was just like, aren't you supposed to have sympathy and compassion for your patients?
Yeah.
And
Hippocratic
she was like,
oath. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she was just like, not in a case like this. And I was like, all right. I was like, I get it. So, but she was super charming, really cute. And so I don't even know if there was much she could do for it besides giggle at me. But then there were these little stuffed animals that were in the boutique of these fish, and these fish had massive lips. So she bought me one and gave it to me as a joke. And so I was like, all right, she's kind of awesome.
And then, so then I get to have a pleasure of meeting her in Cancun because I don't know if you knew, I didn't know at the time that Hendel Duplessis, great chief of village, was assembling a quite the dream team in Cancun. So, we had Red and Freddie, Ross Friedman at 10. I mean, just all these names that if you haven't met, you heard about, right? And
yeah, it was a squad. It was a killer squad in Cancun.
Yeah, it was nuts, right? I mean, is that one of your better, or one of your memorable seasons?
Oh yeah, I mean, we had just such an amazing team. There was just the oldest of old school GOs at the time that were there.
Well, yeah, because Hendel would have guys come in like Jenner and Scotty DePalma and just help us out. And
yeah, we had Red and Freddie, and then Pirate was there. We had I mean, just the name Simon Says, Christy Toth. Evan Eichler was there.
Seventh Evan, yes.
Yeah, James Martin was there.
Yeah, MC Nutnuck. Yes.
Yeah, man, it was. I'm telling you, man, that team was just outrageous.
And Big was there, but he was leaving. He already done he already did his 6 months, so I got to hang out with Big at sailing, for a bit. So
yeah, Kendall was there as well. I mean, man, it's just they did
fire starter. Yes.
Yeah, Tato was there. I mean, it was just there was just so many people. I mean, it was just the best squad.
Jesse Rachel went from one of the actually probably only second person I know goes from sailing to choreographer. Okay,
right.
like boom, and then after Jesse we had Patchy. So we had two good choreographers in a row.
Yeah,
that I couldn't avoid to get out of shows for some reason because I think they're on to me. But anyway, what a great year we had there, man. And I recall the first. So we arrived in 2004, and so December 2004, Hendel throws a banger of a Christmas party at his place. I don't know. I'm milling about. I get there before you, and for some reason, I come out of the hot tub of ice and you're there naked. So I don't know. Maybe you can take us back to how you had just arrived in Rardy Sans clothes. So how did?
Well, I wasn't naked.
Well, okay. To be fair, and in your defense, there was a Chippendales night before the Christmas party.
Exactly.
Correct?
So that's what happened. There was a Chippendales night. I don't know what happened to the majority of my clothes. But I came straight from the Chippendales night to the Christmas party in a towel, I think. And I'm pretty sure someone took my towle.
Well, it was more like a washcloth, a face cloth. It wasn't a big towel. It's one of those ones you had to hold, I think, on the
really?
on the sides, yes. And then of course someone removed your towel.
Yeah, someone took it.
And you're not the type of guy to cover up, like, I think, because there's no shame in the human body, and you're like,
No,
this was before digital, before iPhones anyway, so thank God. So 2004.
Yeah. Yeah, that was there. So there's not a whole lot of video evidence, but they did catch a picture of me because I did go to I did get to go to the kitchen to find something to cover up with, and I found a soup pot.
Yes, you took one of Hendel's soup pots, and someone made a comment, you're making pea soup. I don't know, but anyway.
So that was kind of, I was just strolling around the party with that over my genitals for an extended period of time. Someone has a picture of that.
It is a great photo, though. Hopefully we can share that if you're okay with that.
It's fine. I'm pretty sure it's on my Facebook somewhere.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Good memories. Yes. And then what was your favorite club in Cancun? Mine was Coco Bongo. So were you a Daddy-O's guy?
I think I was more of a Daddy-O's guy. I like Daddy-O's. Okay. I like the little reggae bar outside of Daddy-O's too. That's kind of where I'd prefer to hang out. During the day, you could have some cocktails and just listen to chill music. The DJ there made me a couple mixed CDs, which was amazing. I like that place.
Yeah. And after our year there, I think that's probably of all the seasons, that's the best like leaving a village I've ever had, because the party lasted the entire day. Because you and I were both leaving. You, me, Nathan, Dom. I think we were leaving all on the same day.
Yeah.
And I started off at water ski, but then unfortunately or fortunately, my room was right across from yours. So I think at 10 o'clock when I got back, you said it's on. Okay, it was only 10.
Yeah.
Normally I hear it's on later in the evening, like at 9.
Yeah.
And I hadn't packed, and that we just went to have one of the most awesome days you could have in Club Ed for you.
Yeah, that was an epic day. Yeah.
Yeah. Which also culminated in another Chippendales, and me, you, and Simon were supposed to go to where was it? Where we would do the Chippendale? Well, we would do the bar. What was that bar that you would drag me to, where we would do hot body contests? Yes. So
that's the one that's on the other side. The others, like, it's not close to the other ones. It's on the far side of.
And we were all supposed to go, but you had another accident during your Chippendales number, which happens because those podiums had wood on them. So
I think I kind of fell on my face during that.
Okay. Yes, but you were doing the Bobby Brown Rock With You Baby push-up, so that would happen.
Yeah,
you weren't standing.
Yeah. So, but I don't remember what the name of that club was either.
Okay.
But you
would do backflips and G-strings in this place, right? I'm like, Jesus, what the hell am I supposed to do? I'm going up after him. Okay.
Yeah. That was
Joker flying through there. Oh, okay. I guess I'll just take off my shirt and keep my jeans on then. Okay.
You got to work with what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the thing.
Yeah, it was more for the experience. Okay.
Indeed. Yeah, it was good times. Good times.
And then,
but yeah, so yeah, but we were basically boozing the entire day and had the Chippendales at night.
Yeah, we were pacing it out. We weren't nutty. We are just having fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, and then you and I both do one last season. You go to Ixtapa, okay, in 2005. And that was just for 6 months, I guess, right?
Yeah, just the summer.
Okay. And then I guess like me and you, we both knew when it was we had done our thing, and it was time to go. And this is the funny part, is because I think you started going out with Dom, who's French Canadian, and I'm from Montreal, that I meet you on the dock in Australia almost 23 years ago, and now we live maybe a 5-minute drive or less from each other. Correct?
Right. Correct.
How wild is that? What a small world, right?
Indeed.
Okay, now let's just talk about crazy signs. You've went on record, stated your 3 favorite crazy signs are, and I'm going to give you a chance to rebuke. Tomake, Tequila Boom Boom, and I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany. Do you stand by these, sir?
I think I those are that's my final answer.
Okay, final answer. Okay, would you like to phone a friend? Okay,
no, thank you.
Okay. Now we have mentioned a lot of names like the Four Horsemen and some people from Lindeman, but is there anyone else you worked with at other seasons that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh gosh,
shout out.
Yeah, there's probably tons. Man.
Again,
if I miss anybody, I'd like to apologize beforehand. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, starting from way back. Let's see.
Well, 97 way back.
Oh, 97. I'm trying
to think. Oh, no. You can start. You can start where you want. I have your list in front of me. So
yeah, no, but I'm thinking like, yeah, there's Zorro and LP. I got to give shout out to those guys. Those guys are kind of like they're like kind of role models, guys that had been in the club already for a while that were just great at their jobs. Matt Glod, incredible Circus Geo. They were back in Hualtuco with me. Then we go to the Horsemen, obviously, PD, Luca, Renato. Then we had like Pablo, who was an amazing entertainer, just super talented.
Who's your boy that came to visit us in Lindeman? I think you met him at
Scotty Beck. Yeah, so Scotty Beck.
No, also Scotty, but I'm thinking of the Italian guy who lives in Toronto now.
Vito. Yeah,
yes,
Vito. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Vittorio De Lucio. He's like he's a brother as well. He lives in Toronto now. He's originally from France, southern France, half Italian, half French.
Yes.
And I met him in Tahiti. He came to Tahiti and took over my position at bar there, and did a long stint in Club Med as well. And he's actually married now and living in Toronto.
Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned Scott Beck. I'd done Columbus with Scott Beck, so it was such a surprise to see him show up in Lindeman, and that we both knew him,
And Scotty Beck was amazing. He's a scuba instructor that I met in Tahiti, and he was, there weren't a whole lot of Americans working in Tahiti. There was myself, there was Scott Beck, there was Bama that was doing water skiing in Tahiti for a little while, which was also kind of surreal. And then let's see, we had like I said, we had Pablo that was there with us. We had Kendall. He's a brother as well, originally from St. Lucia. We met in the Bahamas first, and then we worked in Cancun as well together. Levi, Evan, just amazing guys. Tiger, I was on the circus team in Cancun along with Simon Says. We just had so many amazing people. You got legends like Red and Freddie.
JK, we had JK.
JK was there. Yeah, JK was. Yeah, he was amazing working with us. I mean, we just had a really, really group of talented people that we got to work with all over the place. It's really, really cool. Yeah. So anyone I left out, I'd like to apologize, but I love you all. James Martin, obviously, I love that guy. He's a brother as well. But yeah, just and how about Bobby D?
Bobby D, yes, Bobby Cancun.
D. Yes, Cancun. You can't leave out Bobby D, man.
He never broke character, even for us. Like,
yeah,
it's just us on the road. You don't have to do this. And he'd nope.
Yeah, true professional. Bobby D is a true professional.
That's right.
Yeah.
And now Well, yeah, again, like there's so many, it's hard to name everyone I know. So don't send him angry emails, guys. He does love you all. Reach out to him after when this episode airs. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've gone on record as saying the three things you miss the most are, I'm going to give you a chance to retract if you want: warm weather, access to sports, and exposure to new culture. I do agree with you on all three of those, especially the access to sports, because, you could pick up anything and go, right? You didn't have to, if you were a windsurfer or sailor, it's just there, right? I mean, you could, volleyball game is going on. You could walk here, walk there, and definitely, the warm weather, because both of you are idiots. We live in Montreal now, right? And so we're recording this in the heart of winter.
Yes.
And
indeed.
So especially around winter, I think you and I miss Clement the most, right?
Probably, yeah. The warm weather is definitely something that I miss. But I am happy to be here in Canada. This is a great place to live. Wouldn't change it.
Would you change anything about like your experience? Like, are you glad you did Club Med? I mean, before we had to all grow up and be responsible. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you do it over.
For sure. There was no better school for me. I think, the things that I learned and experienced in Club Med, I couldn't have gotten anywhere else. I got a wonderful family, beautiful wife, 2 kids.
Well, Joker, this has been so awesome for you to come back, the first guest that has been invited back. And I'm glad we got to do it properly this time. But before I let you go, because you've been really kind with your time, is there anything else we haven't talked about? I know we could go on for days and hours and people tell us to shut up, but is there anything else you wanted to mention or I forgot to ask you?
No, man, I think we covered it. I think we got my whole experience in there this time.
That's right. And then some. Okay.
Yeah.
And then some stuff we can't talk about. So sorry, people. Okay.
And stuff people don't want to hear about anyways.
Yeah, exactly. It's all boring. All boring stuff. Well, man, thank you so much again for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me again, my brother. It's great to talk to you.
Make sure you send me that pea soup photo, okay? So I'm sure people want to see it now. Once we talked about it.
It's on Facebook. It's in there somewhere.
Okay. Well, everyone, that was the one and only, the famous James Joker Cradle from Boston, now living in my hometown, Montreal, Quebec. And we'll see you all next week. Bye. Say bye, Joker.
Bye, guys.